Warning, the Stone Age Gamer includes a lot of bad language. Cover your mother***ing ears.
Good evening, and welcome to the Stone Age Gamer Podcast. I'm Kris Randazzo, and joining me tonight is Clicky Joystick Dan Ryan.
The clickiest of joysticks. So
what happens when Dan and I try to make starter kits for a system we know very little about? Well, you're about to find out, because we're going to be talking about the Neo-Geo Pocket Color. I hope you like a vertical screen orientation, because the Stone Age Gamer Podcast starts now.
You know the troubles I've been having with vertical screen orientations.
And you got some serious-ass vertical screen orientation problems.
Yeah, it's not easy to say. It's not. Vertical screen orientation. I mean, I got it out that time.
We both nailed
it. Perfect.
Hi, everyone. This is episode 431. It is the week of October 7th, 2022.
Hello, especially to the criminals and thieves out there in the podcast listening world. That's right. Calling you out.
Yeah, we had something brought to our attention. Vigigamer from the Weekend Rental podcast sent me a Twitter message to let me know that he had been seeing.
I like that you said Twitter message instead of tweet.
No, because it was a Twitter message. He didn't tweet at me.
Oh, it was? Okay.
It was a message. Yeah.
Oh, so like he sent you a private story and we're blowing it up now.
A PM to bring this to my attention. That he had saw his YouTube feed was full of these retro gaming podcast YouTubers doing the Stone Age starter kits. It was, let's see, the first one he pointed out was, the name of it was $100 to build an original Xbox collection from Gaming Off the Grid. Gaming Off the Grid is, I believe, a considerably larger podcast than us.
And to be fair, we haven't gotten to the Xbox yet.
No, we're pretty far away from that still. But,
they're working backwards from our list.
Gaming Off the Grid... that was posted 2 days ago, and it already has 8.8 thousand views just on YouTube. So, yeah, they're a little bit better than us, but they credited this idea. They said they got the idea from Megadan29. So I went to track down. Which is not
me.
It's not.
I thought it was me for a minute. I was like, oh, Megadan, is that me? I'm curious.
Definitely not you. I found this dude, and I found his video, and he said in his video that he got the idea from Russ Lyman from the Bit by Bit podcast. So I tracked down that episode, and I looked through it, and, well, he didn't credit anyone with the idea. And then Genix on our Discord said that he found another video that he did previously of another $100 to build a whatever physical collection that was credited to a YouTube listener who commented on one of their older videos, and that YouTube listener was Contra Kai. Contra Kai, I have to assume, is somebody who listens to our podcast, because the instructions were pretty much do exactly what we do.
And really, why would anyone take this idea and keep the $100 limit? If anything, inflation is a motherfucker. You should be doing 200.
200 does seem like it's a little more interesting, but it makes for a fun conversation. I think it's a great idea. I like what we do, and clearly it is a good idea, because a lot of other podcasters have stolen it. Run with it now. I thought it was neat that
thieves
seem to have started something that has taken off, and I know that there's a lot of the bigger podcasts. They're never going to know that we've been doing this for a year and a half, but
they should.
They should. And so if Contra Kai, you're someone who is listening to this podcast, thanks for throwing this out there. I think it's really cool that other people are doing this idea, because I think it's a really fun idea, and I'm looking forward to seeing what other people do that's different from our kits, like how their lists come together. And
they're not naming them anything different, because if you include starter or kit in there,
it's pretty close.
It's pretty. It's just kind of on the nose.
But yeah, if maybe we'll try to see if we can get one of these guys on our show and talk about their starter kits versus ours or something like that. I don't know. I just thought it was a weird thing. It was a strange way to start my day. But thanks everyone for bringing it to our attention. It's
definitely weird. And like I said, I am relatively sure because I'm a fucking hack. Like, I readily admit that I am a hack. I'm a joke stealer. I'm all of those terrible things, I think. Because you said you can't find anybody doing it before we did. I'm pretty sure, like, my default setting is to assume I'm the asshole. So, like, my assumption was like, well, I probably stole it from somebody. But you seem to think not. So maybe I didn't.
Maybe I did, maybe you didn't. Just because I can't find it, I'm not a great researcher, so...
I mean, you're not a not great researcher, though.
I also didn't put a ton of time into it. I followed the trail.
Stuff can be two things.
It's true. I followed the trail as far as I was willing to, because it's not like I'm mad at anybody. I'm like, they stole our idea. I'm just more
furious.
Like, well, this is interesting. I'm
furious.
I'm curious.
I called... As soon as I saw that Discord message, I got on the horn with my good friend, Mr. Tallarico, to get some of those lawyers involved. Because, you know, we're buddies. And, man, high-priced, highfalutin, talking in big words, even I don't understand it. I'm fucking smart.
Speaking of Mr. Tallarico, you heard the latest and greatest from him.
No, I didn't. I was just being shitty.
Oh, yeah.
What happened?
Apparently he's selling a bunch of his stuff.
Oh, no, that's not a great sign.
He's not selling it as himself. He's going through some, like, art thing, or art auction site that's got a bunch of his stuff, like, pretty hideously overpriced on eBay to sell in lots. And I watched, what is it, Ninja Kitty did a thing on it, and then I watched Pat and Ian's breakdown of it, and I think...
sure they were very fair and unbiased in their assessment of the situation.
They were a little, I mean, I don't know, they looked up a bunch of this stuff piece by piece. It is definitely way overpriced, and I can only assume that the hope is that selling it through this art auction is, like, the hope is that, just like their Amico supporters, that somebody who doesn't know shit from shit's going to be like, well, clearly this stuff is worth this much money. I should buy it.
Sucker born every minute, Chris.
Sucker born every minute, yes, indeed. But, like, some of the stuff is, I would say, is not that far off. I mean, but it's pretty up there. And the way they found this out was that one of the things is a Super NES dev kit that was I think the way it was listed was the person who is selling this worked on this dev kit was used to work on Cool Spot and Earthworm Jim and just a handful of games that Mr. Tallarico also worked on. And there's, like, I think he's selling his big Spider-Man like statue thing. Like, it's Tommy's stuff, and clearly he needs some money for some reason. So,
don't we all, though?
Don't we all?
I mean, it's probably not as bad because we didn't try to fuck over a bunch of people.
That's true. We didn't take a whole lot of crowdfunding money and then not deliver anything,
and then get some Peruvian nose candy and fucking spend it that way.
I don't know what's going on there, but it's
man, I hadn't even heard that. I was just being a dumbass about the podcasting thing. Man, whatever.
Yeah, it's yeah. I'm very curious what's going to happen if and when Mr. T there pulls his head out of the sand and gets back in the spotlight, because there's no way this guy's going to stay out of the limelight. That's all he wants out of life.
Maybe though.
I don't know. Maybe he slinks. Maybe he slinks away. Maybe he does and stays off the grid. But I feel like he's gonna, crawl back out at some point. I mean, he's got to be still doing those video games live things, right? So
maybe. I mean, you flew too close to the sun, Icarus.
Yeah. Hey man, maybe the Amico will still happen, right? Maybe it's still gonna come. Maybe something will release.
With it's weird, right? Because I was reading this article the other day. of like everybody. I think the article, it was on Kotaku or Polygon or some website that doesn't pay me to advertise them, so I don't care to give them enough credit. Just if we're being honest. But they were talking about how, like, right now everybody is making the sequel to the Sony Vita that Sony refuses to make because of the Switch's popularity and like the Steam Deck and all of these. Because there was just like a Samsung something or other that was
I feel like
that was announced, right?
I wasn't paying that much attention, but that does sound familiar.
I think it was Samsung. So like there's clearly a market for like these mobile style, like that could have, and I know that's not what the Amiga was. It was meant to be a home console, but like there's clearly a market for this type of gaming experience, these smaller games that they were talking about. I don't know, it's just weird. It's weird, like, fucking landscape that we're currently in.
That rings, what was it? Jonathan Holmes posted an interesting stat recently.
Another thief.
I gotta find it. I gotta find the tweet he did about that, because I thought it was a really interesting thing. He ran a poll. It was a few weeks ago, and it was about this is gonna drive me crazy. I gotta find it because I found this. I guessed right on the poll, but I was kind of surprised at the ultimate numbers in it. And man, this guy tweets a lot, so it's gonna take me a minute.
I don't understand Twitter a lot. I really like. There's all right, I'm gonna have to shut the fuck up for a second though, because Aaron Judge is coming back up to bat, and he's at 61 now. Last week we recorded, he wasn't at 61 yet. He hit 61 the other night. Now he's going to break the record.
Is that who Jose Canseco was talking about?
Yes.
All right.
I mean, to make that comment make sense. By the time you guys listen to this on Tuesday, I will have been 42 for 2 days. And my wife and my kids got me a cameo birthday message from fucking Jose Canseco. And I was so fucking tickled by it. It was such a dumb thing. Like, cameo is an amazingly stupid thing. It's just fucking great. Like, Jose Canseco got up this morning. My wife paid him a bunch of money, and he sent me a birthday video, and I have it forever. And he was like, "I see, you're a big fan of mine, but you're also a fan of the Yankees. Fucking Aaron Judge is the shit." It was awesome. It was so cool. But yes, Aaron Judge is at the plate now, Kris. It's 1-0. The first pitch was a ball. I know you're riveted. Well, I mean, you're looking shit up.
I'm looking shit up.
Do you want me to
commentate for this?
So Aaron Judge is sitting on 61 home runs, Kris. Ties the American League record, as you well know. That record, low and outside, ball 2. That record, which was achieved by Roger Maris 61 years ago when he hit 61 home runs, breaking Babe Ruth's record from 1927, where the Bambino hit 60.
That's very impressive.
It really is. It's one of the records. And I'm not telling you anything you don't know. You're a massive baseball fan.
Of course.
You're a student of the game.
Very much so.
But the American League home run record, currently sitting at 61 since 1961, it's like the record in sports. And it really is, because baseball has this really incredible thing going for it, where it is both a team game that is also viciously singular a lot of the time, because in order to drive in a lot of RBIs, right? Runs batted in. Again, why am I telling you? You know what RBI stands for. You have to have men on base. The guys hitting before you in the lineup have to get on base so that you can drive them in. But something like the home run record is just you. You're the one, it's you and the pitcher. And as much as baseball is a team game and you need your teammates, the other 8 guys that are out there on the field with you, when you're in the batter's box, it's just you. So the home run record is really just a special record in all of sports, especially because it was held by a Yankee. And in the year that Babe Ruth set the record in 1927, he hit more home runs than any other team hit total. Like, he had 60 and other teams had like 14 total all season. Like, it just wasn't a thing that was done. 61 years, or not 61 years later, but 27 to 61, the record stood. Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle are going for the record in 1961. Mickey gets to about, I think, 54 home runs before he has to go on the injured list for the rest of the season because he got a shot in his hip because he was horribly broken as a human, both being an alcoholic and just injury prone. He was a broken man for much of his career. And the fact that he put up the numbers that he did is astonishing. But he got an infection at the injection site and had to pull out of the race. And fans were pissed because fans loved Mickey Mantle and didn't love Roger Maris. But he breaks the record. He, kind of goes on to be a Yankee legend. So the record was set by a Yankee, broken by a Yankee, and now it has been tied by a Yankee. The 2-0, low and outside, 3-0. The crowd is, I can only imagine, booing the shit out of this guy, Mr. Bautista, who is pitching for the Orioles currently, because they want to see Judge hit the record too, and they just intentionally walked him. They got the 3-0, and they put him on, and that is a big-time bitch boy move, and we don't care for that. The reason I was talking so much, Chris, is because the pitcher thought he might have gotten injured, so he was walking around for a bit. Baseball doesn't take that long in between pitches.
Yeah, so anyway, I did think it was a tad suspicious, but then again,
it's the bottom of the 8th. He's probably not going to get up again. I would be a terrible baseball commentator. I really would, especially with someone who doesn't know baseball at all. Can't be like, so the record, and you're like, oh yeah, for sure. It's a good one.
All right.
Was that long enough? Did you get your information?
I literally just found it.
Okay, I know it's no Chad Kroger story, but God, I'm excited for you to listen to it. It's so stupid. So bad.
According to the most up-to-date official numbers, which of these games has sold the least amount of copies?
The least amount of copies?
The least amount of copies.
Okay.
Hello Neighbor, Terraria, God of War for PS4, or Human Fall Flat?
Oh, dear God. God of War for PS4. So the remake God of War, Terraria, Hello Neighbor, or Human Fall Flat. I mean, I feel like it's being set up to be God of War. My thought process, though, is that it would be Human Fall Flat because no, that wasn't given away. That wasn't a free download, was it? Thought it might have been at some point. I mean, fuck it. I'm going to say Human Fall Flat, but I really feel like it's being set up to be God of War.
I'm trying to find the actual answers to it now. The poll was that most people did vote for God of War. The follow-up question, do you think any PS5 exclusive will ever sell as the Switch's best-selling game, a lightly enhanced port of a Wii U game that has now sold like 46 million copies? Yes, no, unfair comparison, or can't even find a PS5. And
you can't even find a PS5 currently.
I'm trying to find the damn answers to it. He said that it's fun that over 40% of you were right about this, but also telling that over 60% weren't. The old guard of AAA-loving blogs and current-day AAA marketing blitzes, including award shows, really inflates people's perception of how big AAA is. The biggest games today are, like the streamers and YouTubers that play them, phenomenons that aren't pushed by giant marketing firms and the websites that follow in their footsteps. They get well known through a mix of word of mouth and algorithm luck. Big AAA games are like Scorsese movies. They go for gritty realism and the humanification of inhuman, murderous assholes, and they win awards. But what most people really want are PG-13 rated toy worlds like Minecraft, The Avengers, Among Us, and Star Wars. It was part of this larger AAA game conversation about how a lot of these AAA games are just, they're so profitable. They're the biggest games in the world. And like, well, they actually kind of aren't. You know, of course, your Call of Duty is massive. Your FIFA is massive. But like...
Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto... Like
there is a certain degree of scaling to it that, like, well, some of these smaller games are, what I think he said in another tweet, that like, yeah, they're huge, but nobody under 25 talks about them. So I don't know.
Yeah, but nobody under 25 has any fucking money. So like, I don't disagree with his premise of his article. I don't necessarily see the point.
It was a response to something else that somebody else was saying about how like I think it was in response to one of the many Twitter conversations that happen out there that's just like well, you know, your stupid bullshit games, they're not real games, you know. The real games are these ones. There's no such thing as real games, you know.
Does anybody does anybody with how do I phrase this without being horrendously offensive? Is there anyone worth talking to that believes Twitter is a real place? Because it's not.
it's not. Yeah,
it's just not. Like that's that kind of stuff. Fucking, it makes me sit down in my chair and I have to think about it with my whole body. Like, I can't just like absent-mindedly I have to put a lot of effort into trying to understand people that don't understand the idea of marketing. That it blows my mind that there is this assumption, and I know it exists, right? Like, I know that it does. But man, it just baffles me. Like, people who believe they see a picture on fucking Instagram or whatever, and it's like, man, this person's got everything going for him. It's like, no, they just don't show you the shitty parts. Like, how do you not get that? How do you have to fucking have that explained to you? It's weird. It's like, I liken it to the people who, because I've had this conversation, and I don't know that this exactly correlates to this type of person, but in my mind it does, right? I have had the conversation with people so many fucking times that I've lost count and don't ever want to have the conversation again, where when they find out that as a grown-ass man who pays bills, that I watch professional wrestling, it's the same response from people every time. And you know what the response is. You've never given me the response, but you know what it is. Well, you know that's fake, right?
You know that's fake, right? Like,
oh no. My God. Is it?
Really?
Son of a bitch.
This whole time I thought it is the pinnacle of realism. It's very believable.
You're fucking kidding me. The Undertaker is not an undead zombie man? Oh, for shame. I had no fucking idea. Dear God, thank you for the fucking moment of clarity, you asshole. Like, I feel like those people are the same people that believe Twitter to be like a real place. Like, you know wrestling's fake, right? Like, son of a bitch. Next thing you're gonna tell me is that the Avengers Endgame wasn't a fucking documentary like I think it is. You fucking smackbass. What's wrong with you? I don't know, man. That shit kind of baffles me, you know? Because, like, the people having arguments about what is a real video game, like, just enjoy video games.
Yeah,
I enjoy them.
Don't get the whole, even at the height of like the Genesis versus Super Nintendo, like it was never like your games aren't games. It was always like, well, one's better than the other. Like that's just a different conversation. And that was that was stupid, but it wasn't quite as stupid as like all the posts that say like, you want to call yourself a gamer, you got to get yourself a PlayStation, you got to get yourself, God of War, and no, Animal Crossing doesn't count. Like, yeah, it does.
Yes,
it's a fucking video game.
It's a fucking video game.
Sorry, you don't get to make that rule. It counts. Sorry.
It's fucking weird, man. Just
us real gamers can
games.
Put 300 to 400 hours, no problem, in all of our games. Like, who cares? Good for you.
It's weird. Well, like,
I'm sorry that my 200 hours in Animal Crossing doesn't quite at 200 hours.
Yeah, no.
Sorry. This is.
I don't know what you were doing, Kris, but it was not playing video games.
Nah, just not good enough.
It definitely wasn't.
Let's actually talk about some video games. Did you play any good video games? Because I have a whole bunch of stuff to talk about of video game related. Even some more news that we didn't even get to. But still, did you play anything of note this week?
I did. I played Horizon Chase Turbo 2 because it's on Apple Arcade.
It's
really fucking good. It's really fucking good. Oh man, it's like $100 though. But one of these companies has released a PS5 branded controller that your iPhone like sits snugly in, and it's like it's a PS5, like basically a PS5 controller, which I love the DualSense controller. It's not because I'm a Sony fanboy. I love the DualSense the way I first loved the original Type S on the Xbox. And I was like, oh god, like this just fits really well in my hand. I really like this controller. And like I think I ended up buying an adapter to use my Type S controller on my PS2, I think. Like, or did I adapt it to the PS3? I don't fucking remember. I think it was just a PS2 adapter. But like I fucking love that controller. And I love the DualSense the same way. I think it just feels really, really nice. I like the quality of it. And the reviews that I've seen are like, you slide your phone into this and you can do PS5 remote play on the iPhone and it works great because the iPhone can fucking run it well and all. I'm like, man, that sounds like a fucking cool idea. I might have to invest in one of these, especially because things like I have Apple Arcade. I think it's a worthwhile service at the $5 a month that it is. Tiff plays a ton of games on there. Like she gets way more than $5 a month out of that fucking service. So I'm happy to have it for that. But 2 weeks ago, Horizon Chase Turbo came out. So I was like, fuck yeah, I'll play that. It's really good, even with the on-screen arrow keys and whatnot. And then this week, SteamWorld Dig. Or not SteamWorld
Shovel
Dig.
Knight Dig.
Fucking Shovel Knight Dig. Which I keep having to convince myself is not SteamWorld Dig. Shovel Knight Dig came out. And it's fucking awesome. It's so good. Even with the bullshit on-screen tap controls, it works really well. But it would be so much better with a controller. But it's fucking awesome. It's got all of the, like, charming, tongue-in-cheek humor that the original Shovel Knight has. And it's got directly ripped off of SteamWorld Dig gameplay. And I fucking love SteamWorld Dig. Loved that game. Loved the sequel, too. It's very, very similar mechanics. Like, if you've played either of those games, then you will be absolutely right at home here. This is a little bit more combat-focused, because you're Shovel Knight, right? So, like, there's just some more combat to it. But, man, it's really fucking fun. It looks great. It plays great. Music is awesome. The writing so far has been Shovel Knight writing. Like, you're getting exactly what you expect in this little, kind of smaller, interesting detour. It's not the full Shovel Knight sequel that I think a lot of us want at this point. I'm not even going to say would prefer, But I think I think that's a safe assumption to make, right? Like, those of us who have played Shovel Knight are like, yeah, more of that, please.
Yeah, I mean, they've been doing the DLC for years.
Sure, but okay.
A Shovel Knight 2 is definitely, we're about due for a Shovel Knight 2.
Yeah, I want it. I want the next part of that story. I want the evolution and where you're going to go with it. I want to see what you do with the ideas that you had with all the DLC stuff. And I want it to look exactly like Shovel Knight did. Because I love the way this game looks. It looks really good, so it's not the proper sequel that people might want, but it is a very, very worthwhile experience. It's really good.
Yeah, it's what's next after Monkey Island for me. It's my next game.
Did you play the SteamWorld Dig games?
I played a little bit of the first one. It didn't grab me the way it grabbed most people.
It takes a little bit to hook you, I feel. Like, it's not like I love this game instantly. I mean, it is for some people, but I think there's just such a charm to it and such a sense of exploration that it's almost impossible not to, like, get hooked into it. Like, you really start to feel for those little robots and shit. But with Shovel Knight, like, you've already got the buy-in there, right? Yeah. Like, if you were a Shovel Knight fan, you're like, all right, well, yeah, I'm definitely into this. It's really cool, man. I like it a lot. And Horizon Chase Turbo 2, like, did you like Horizon Chase Turbo?
To me?
Okay.
Nah, it was all right.
Like, if you liked Horizon Chase Turbo, guess what? You're going to like this one.
Yeah, I have no doubt that I'm going to love it. Just waiting for it to come to consoles.
Yeah, I am not as well versed, obviously. I don't know that very many people are as well versed in Horizon Chase Turbo as you are. I couldn't tell you what's different about it. I'm sure there's improvements and stuff, but I am enjoying it as much as I enjoyed playing Horizon Chase Turbo, which was quite a bit. So, there you go.
Sounds good to me.
That's what I've been doing. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in Pad that, I know Rumblemans is excited about, but I don't know that anybody else gives a shit about. But, like, the Ultraman collab was around, and I fucking got Ultraman Leo, which was, like, the big-time farming lead, and he's made really interesting builds, really fun to play. And we didn't get the Marvel announcement last night, and I was really kind of hoping we would. It felt like it would be a good birthday present if Gung Ho was listening, but apparently they fucking weren't, which is rude. They were big fans of the show. I mean, we got a retweet one time. So, that's something. But no, like, it's Puzzle and Dragons is in a really interesting place currently where there are some really, really high-level dungeons, like really hard dungeons, that if you have a couple of specific cards, you can basically just button your way through them. Like, you hit a button, it makes some orbs, and you just swipe. Like, you don't even have to think about it. But without those cards, the fucking dungeons are real difficult. So, I don't know, it's in a weird place as far as, like, mechanics and shit go. I'm really interested to see what the next year or so holds for the game, because, we're now talking about, in February, it will be the 11th anniversary of Puzzle and Dragons, which is an absurd amount of time for a mobile game. 11 years is just bananas.
It's a long time. It's just thinking about what mobile phones were 11 years ago,
11 years, right? Like, 11 years ago, I don't even know, like, did we even have mobile phones 11 years ago? I don't know. It feels like such a long fucking time ago. I think we were on, like, the iPhone. Oh, God. I don't even think they were numbered yet.
Well, let's see. 11 years ago.
Because the 14 just came out, right?
2011.
Yeah.
Let's see.
iPhone 4, maybe?
4S. Yeah, 4 and 4S.
4 and 4S. I mean, God, could you imagine trying to play a game on your 4S right now? You'd be like, ugh. This is fucking gross.
It's got a big old button on the bottom.
Ew. I hate this. Get this the fuck away from me. I'm going back to the future. This is stupid. I mean, it's just, and like, even if you just look at what the mobile gaming landscape was 11 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking, it was fucking Angry Birds everywhere, right?
Uh-huh.
Like Angry Birds and fucking Clash of Clans. Is that the big one?
Yeah, I think so. With the dude with like Hulk Hogan on all the ads that were everywhere.
Like shit that's just gone now. Like I know that the Angry Birds is still around and they got different versions and whatnot, but like this fucking game is stuck around that long. That's
Angry
insanity.
Birds was, I remember, thinking that it was ridiculous that people were saying Angry Birds is going to have the same staying power as like Mario and Sonic. And like, no, it's fucking not. And I said that back then. It's like, no,
for sure. It got
this
movies
is not
before
that.
They did though.
Well, yeah, but that's not hard. That's oh shit, a popular property. Let's do it. Yeah, they marketed that thing out to every place they possibly could.
It's just wild, man. It's wild to like look at this. That it's almost possible to talk about Puzzle and Dragons as like a fucking retro game that's still happening. That's a weird place to be. I don't know. It's fucking nuts, man. I love it.
Well, let's see. I'm in the second to last chapter in Monkey Island, or I'm basically at the last main chapter in Return to Monkey Island, which is fucking brilliant.
Has the art style clicked for you?
Nope.
Nope. Does it matter?
No. I mean, it kind of does, because I really like this game. I like what it does for puzzle solving. I'm solving the puzzles so much faster than I did in Monkey Island 2 when I played that for the first time earlier this year, because not because the puzzles are more intuitive, but because the game is more intuitive. Like it has a way of directing you to the kinds of things you can do way better than the old ones did. There's no pixel hunting in this one. It's just like here the thing. It's breaking it down to what the puzzles actually were. It just breaks everything down to here's what you have at your disposal. Figure it out. And the hint system it's fucking great. I had to use it exactly once, and I felt like such a moron because
isn't that always the way?
Is a hint system. Like it is like, here's a really vague hint. Just kind of nudge you in the right general direction. Yeah. And then if that's not enough, it'll give you a slightly more specific one. And mine was like, I did the first one, and it pushed me. It basically said exactly what I was already thinking. Like, okay, I know that's what I need, but I don't understand what this means. And the next hint was, you probably already have something that does this in your inventory. And then I looked at my inventory, and a split second later, it's like, son of a inspirational pamphlet, of course. and
it made so much sense and was so obvious.
It was the easiest one, and I had just solved like way more complicated and bizarre ones than that, and that was the most obvious one. It was sitting right in front of my face. No, it's great. The story's great. The puzzles are great. The voice acting's great. Even the actors who aren't the same as the ones who were just in the limited editions.
Sure.
I don't care. It's great. Guybrush is great. All of the ghost characters, all of the non-human characters, and all of the environments look great. It's the people that look awful. And that's the part that's really irking me. Like Guybrush in particular, just his face is hard to look at. It's like a shitty Picasso painting, and it bothers me. And I get what they were going for, and I understand that this is the direction they wanted to go, and they're welcome to do it, and the game works despite it, but I just wish it didn't have to work despite anything, because every other aspect of this is fucking brilliant. As soon as I'm done with this, I know what my deadline is for the review. So as soon as I'm done with this, I'm playing on easy mode because I wanted to get through the story. And I'm going to boot up hard mode. I just want to see what the difference is. And I'm like, some of it is upsetting me because like I made it back to Monkey Island, and I'm like, oh, I want to see all of the places that I went in the first game, and like you can only go to some of the places you went in the first game.
Sure.
Like, nuts. I also think I missed an entire conversation with some dude on an island. It's definitely got a handful of references to 3, 4, and 5, but this game is very much a sequel to Monkey Island 1, and to a lesser extent 2. Like, it follows up on the weird ending of 2 for sure, but it's retreading a lot of the same locales and characters as the first game, which is great for me because that's my favorite one.
Right.
And not in a bad way. Like, it doesn't feel like it's a retread. It's just like you're going back to these same locales, and they're very different. There's lots of things involved, lots of trivia cards laying all over the place. You pick up these trivia cards, they ask you some random bit of trivia from any point in the Monkey Island series, and since I only know the first 2 games, I've gotten most of them very wrong.
Very wrong.
But it's great. It is wonderfully great. I'm thrilled about its existence. It's fucking magical.
I would really like to hear from someone who loves the art style on it, because I'm sure that there are people out there that love it, and a lot of video games operate in that space, I think, of these are unobjectionable graphics. You know what I mean? Like, you look, like, take a game that you and I do not care for, right? An Elder Scrolls Morrowind, which I think is an Elder Scrolls game. Bethesda game, right?
Yeah.
You take a Bethesda game. Those are unobjectionably attractive video games. You can't look at that and be like, nope, that looks like shit. You know? And I think a lot of video games operate in that space. But then there's also a lot of video games that, for either purposeful aesthetic choices or budgetary choices, operate within the pixel space. Mm-hmm. But then every now and again, you have games that really go out on a limb and do something very, very different, and sometimes you get this Monkey Island game that seems to be incredibly divisive, and then other times you get Cuphead, which doesn't look like anything else out on the market, except for that one game that I don't know if it even came out, that direct ripoff that we talked about.
Forgot about that.
I forgot about that until just now. But Cuphead, I think, is one that is kind of universally loved for its interesting, different visual style. I don't know. It's just kind of an interesting thing. Like, I applaud them for not only taking the chance, but sticking to their guns about it.
Yeah, like they absolutely made the choice, and they stuck to it, and they committed to it. Like, this game,
and that's awesome.
Has that art direction all the way through.
But I really want to hear from somebody who loves it.
I want to hear from somebody who's never played a Monkey Island game before. That's what I want to hear.
I mean, what I've seen, I don't like it at all. But that's okay. You know what I mean? Like, I still would be interested in playing the game because it's Monkey Island. And I know that I'm not playing the game for the visuals. You're here for the writing.
Yeah.
This
the
could
writing
be a
is great. The puzzles
adventure.
are great. And like I said, the environments and the non-human characters look great. Like, that art style works really well for everyone except for the main character and the other humans you run into.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, but I love it. I think it's phenomenal.
That's great.
See,
and that makes me so happy, because, like, there's nothing worse than you being like, oh man, I can't fucking wait. This is going to be amazing. And then the first hour or two, you're like, nah, this is still going to be amazing. You're trying to convince yourself that it's going to be fucking great. That's the worst.
Let's see. It is officially spooky season in our house. We got all our Halloween decorations up.
Yay, spooky season.
Karen is super into Halloween, and the kids are super into Halloween, and, well, wanted to make everybody happy, so I was like, fuck it. let's go ahead and let's do it. Let's get all the Halloween stuff put together. It'll be fine. It'll be fun. I got the yard work all cleaned up. The front yard, got it all is trimmed and weeds pulled and everything that I could as possible to get it just at a nice base so that we could get all the Halloween decorations set up. And I got Karen another new inflatable as her birthday present this year. I actually ordered her another one. I ordered her a record, a Florence and the Machine record that she doesn't know about yet. But
Ooh, I like Florence and the Machine.
I was at BJ's and oh man, I saw, so she loves Nightmare Before Christmas. The kids love Nightmare Before Christmas. And I was at BJ's and they had exactly one left of this Jack and Zero inflatable.
Okay.
It was 7.5 feet tall. And it's Jack sitting on top of that, like, you know, the hill that's got the spirally bit at the end of it, you know, and that hill is white, and except for at night it glows purple and sparkly and stuff, and it's got cool. Zero sitting at the bottom, and his head rotates back and forth.
Oh, nice! That's awesome.
It was on sale for, you know, about what I wanted to spend total on her birthday. Right. And there was exactly...
It's on sale for way too much money.
Way too much money. But there was exactly one left. And the amount of happy it made her. Like, I was like, all right, I don't want to fall into this rut because I got you an inflatable for your birthday last year. And I'm not going to be like, you're just getting Halloween decorations for your birthday from now on. But this is too perfect. Are you okay with me buying you this as your birthday present and just giving it to you almost a month early? And she was like, I mean, yes, absolutely. And the noises she made when we got this thing built, like, it's amazing. It's really freaking awesome looking.
That's awesome.
It's not something that everybody else in the neighborhood has. There's those giant skeletons.
Everybody's got them now.
Everybody's got them now. I'm glad I never invested the $300 in one of them because, like, now they're everywhere. Now they're not that special.
Yeah.
All right.
Now it's like all of us are assholes that spend $300 on this, as opposed to I'm the asshole who spent $300 on this.
Exactly. I kind of feel bad for the first house in our neighborhood that had the big skeleton last year. They were the only ones, and now this year there's like at least 6 or 7 in the area. Whereas nobody else has the inflatables that we have, like, at least not that I've seen. And the house looks really good, properly spooky, and I'm okay with it. I'm a little bit more into the spooky season this year. I'm trying to hype myself up for it a little bit more. I'm really looking forward to giving out candy because that's my bag. Karen takes the kids out trick or treating, and I stay behind and give out candy to the trick or treaters because if we're gonna deck out our house and Halloween stuff, somebody has to be there to give out candy. We can't be a trick-or-treating house and be covered in Halloween decorations. So that's my thing. I drag the fire pit out into the front of the house, and I just pull up a chair, sit by the fire, and play Switch while giving out candy. The thing is, we don't get too many trick-or-treaters. Like, last year, I think I saw maybe like 15 kids, maybe, tops. Like, we just don't get a lot of trick-or-treaters because most of the houses on our street don't do it. They go to the richer neighborhoods or whatever that aren't that far away. So this year, I decided as a reward to the kids who do want to come to our house, I'm doing the full-size candy this year.
Oh, shit. I'm giving everybody Nintendo Switches.
Damn. Put me to shame.
That's what we're doing.
Thought it was a big deal with the big candy, but no, you're giving out game systems. No, that BJ's had a box of the it's like Snickers and 2 different kinds of M&Ms and 3 Musketeers and Starburst, I think. It's just a big old box of 35 full-size candy things, and it was on sale for $20. Whereas,
and that'll be enough.
I don't think I've seen more than 35 kids. I don't think that's ever happened since we've lived here. I don't think we've ever come close to that. Now, if we do, then I run out of candy. But the like the bags that we would buy of candy we usually spend around $20 at least on candy to give out to kids.
Oh, sure.
So fuck it. I've got a box of 35 full-size candy things, and if I get 35 kids, that's going to be I feel like that's a pretty solid night for us.
Yeah, that's not bad.
I'm looking forward to it. But in the interest of also continuing with the spooky season thing, I immediately was like, I'm feeling some Castlevania vibes. So I jumped in and I beat Castlevania 1, which nice. I don't know what was wrong with me. I think last year I tried to do this again, just beat NES Castlevania, and I could not beat Dracula. Even with the save states, really? I couldn't get past first form Dracula. I don't know what was wrong with me. I mean, he's hard as fuck, but, you know.
I mean... Sure, but like you've done it a million times.
I have by now, but last year I just couldn't get it. This year I did. So I finished Castlevania 1. John watched me play most of it, and he's really into the Castlevania music right now. And then I moved on to Dracula X because nice. I've never beaten Dracula X because fuck, that game's hard. But now that was in the advanced collection, so that has genuine rewind on it, not just save states. So I finally, saw the rest of that game past where you fall down, the first time you get to that room that's all the pillars and you fall down and then it changes the entire path the rest of the game. Like, well, just rewound that and I want to see what's on the other side of this room, and I made it. And then I didn't have to abuse the rewind state that much for the rest of the game. The Dracula fight, I abused the shit out of it because that Dracula fight is fucking stupid.
Yeah, it's hard.
That's the one that you have to fight him on a bunch of pillars, where it's like one wrong move is insta death. Like there's no mistakes on that fight. So that fight was just absolutely ridiculous. But I finally beat Dracula X, saw that through to conclusion. I really do love that game. I know it's not Rondo of Blood, but
it's still pretty damn good.
Yeah, it's its own thing, and I think it's a really damn good thing. So the next thing I wanted to do was obviously Monkey Island's got to be my primary function right now because I have to write about that. That's important. But what I want to do, because my it's due in like a week or so I don't have that much more time to dedicate to it. I want to beat Symphony of the Night, which I haven't done in years. Actually beat it. I played a bunch of it. I've played the beginning of it periodically over the last several years, but the last time I've actually finished that game, Upside Down Castle and all, it's been well over a decade at least. It's just been too long. And so I really wanted to play through Symphony of the Night, but I wanted to do it, hanging out with John, and that meant I wanted to do it in the living room. Like I love my basement for being what it is, but if I'm really going to hunker in comfy play video games for a long time, I want to do it in the living room. So Symphony of the Night obviously is not on Switch, so the next thought I had was like, well, I don't want to bring the PS4 up here because the Symphony of the Night you download on PS4, I believe, is that like the newer version with the new voices. I don't want that. I want to play the original version of Symphony of the Night. So there's the PS3, but that thing sounds like an air conditioner and I don't want to haul it upstairs. So I went to the Xbox version because the Xbox One was backwards compatible with the Symphony of the Night that was on Xbox 360. And so that was $10. So I bought it because I'm a sucker. And I played it for I played it for like 15, 20 minutes or so, and just gets a big old bag of nope from me. And it's got all the right voiceovers. I like how it's smoothed out all the slowdown. So the visual effects look really nice, but the sound is wrong. The music is way too quiet, and there's no way to adjust it, and the sound effects aren't right. Now, for a game that I know matters. As well as Symphony... I know that game. I put a ton of hours into it. I have the feeling and the sound of that game are just etched in my brain. And shit just wasn't right. So I decided my next course of action was going to be like, all right, well, I just got the Retrofighters, the Defender controller, their new wireless PlayStation controller. I have a couple of those. So why don't I grab... I have a level hike PS1 HDMI cable, so I'm going to grab one of my PS1s. I'm going to set that up upstairs, and I'll use the Retrofighters controller and play Symphony of the Night that way.
Makes sense.
First off, the Retrofighters Controller, the D-pad, I'm not a fan of. It functions about as well, if not worse than the Switch Pro D-pad, which for certain things wouldn't be a problem. Anything you're playing with an analog stick, it's great. It's a comfortable controller. It's well built. But me playing Symphony of the Night, a large portion of me playing Symphony of the Night is using Soul Steel, and that is a complicated spell, and I cannot pull it off on that D-pad.
That sucks, man.
Like the Switch Pro controller, I'll press forward and it'll register as an up or a down. It doesn't register the inputs correctly. And when you have to do that complicated spell of Soul Steel, that shit just doesn't work. The other problem I had was the Level 8 cable was, it's not the greatest HDMI cable in the world. So, like, it wasn't handling some of the scrolling all that well, which is, you get what you pay for. I have no issue with the Level 8 cables at all. They're super cheap, but they get the job done. But knowing that I had a better option sitting down in my basement that I just didn't feel like doing, it's like, all right, fine. I'll go downstairs and I'll haul my giant-ass PlayStation 3 up to the living room so that I can play Symphony of the Night the way I want to. Right. And I did. And
indeed
I did. So the Xbox One is temporarily back down in the basement just for spooky season until I finish Symphony of the Night again, and my hulking PlayStation 3 is upstairs.
It really is a beast of a system.
It is. This the old and backwards compatible
the fatty
one.
Yeah, right.
The fat PS2 backwards compatible one. So, but since John and I have been spending all our time on Monkey Island, and I want to play Symphony of the Night with him, I have it set up so I'm ready once Monkey Island is done to transition to Symphony of the Night. I might wait a little bit longer on Shovel Knight Dig because I heard there's going to be some updates coming out for it that smooth a couple of the issues out, and I can just hold off on spending money until a little bit later. It's fine. And I really want to play Symphony of the Night again. I'm itching to play that or Rondo of Blood. Which I have, the Wii U's already upstairs, and the original version of Rondo of Blood is on the Wii Virtual Console, and I have that downloaded, so that's fine. But Symphony of the Night's what I really want to do. So the PS3's ready for it, but we're not ready to play it together yet. So I turned on the PS3, and I was like, well, you know what I haven't done ever is actually give Rocket Knight a serious try. Because that's like the other game I have downloaded on my PS3. And I had the demo downloaded for ages, and I didn't really care for it. But it is a Rocket Knight game, and I was like, well, when I heard that they were closing down the PS3 shop or whatever, I decided to pull the trigger and purchase the full Rocket Knight game, because I figure that's never getting re-released. And
probably not.
Ever. So what the hell? Let's just have it for the sake of having all the Rocket Knight games. So I decided to sit and just give it a proper go. And it is exactly the game that I thought it was. It feels hollow in comparison to, the older Rocket Knight adventures on Genesis.
Sure.
But that's fair. All right. I forgive Benji for grunting. There you go.
Sorry, I just my one of my dogs came down, and he's very grunty and snorty. He's my house hippo. So if anybody hears any grunting in the background, it's because Ben's he's like an old man. He wears a bow tie on his collar. It's very dapper. He's a very handsome beast. But he's
just
very,
like
very
you.
snorty. Yes. He looks like what you know about me, and you picture, like, I wonder what type of dog Dan has. Like, what type of dog would Dan have? Benji's the dog that you're picturing in your mind. He's like a hound pit bull looking thing with a bow tie. He's fucking great. Love this stuff.
Anyway, so Rocket Knight for PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 is a kind of sad follow-up to the previous Rocket Knight games. It's not a bad game. It's just missing something. Like, the visual style is very soulless, and it just doesn't feel quite right. It doesn't feel bad. It isn't bad. It's just not great.
And isn't that almost worse?
Almost, yeah. Like, considering where
this just, if it sucked, like, okay. you'd be like, oh, this game sucks. But it's like, I mean, it's
okay.
Okay.
And that's not...
It's all right.
That's not what you want out of Shovel Knight, right? Because what the hell?
It's definitely not. Definitely not.
So, not Shovel Knight, Rocket Knight.
Yeah, fuck.
I'm just going to keep calling Shovel Knight the wrong name all night. It's not even that late. So yeah, that led me to then go downstairs and play Rocket Knight Adventures for Genesis. Like, this is okay, but this is really just making me want to play the other games. So I got through, I don't know, like 3/4 of Rocket Knight Adventures. That game's pretty hard, but in a really great way. But I wasn't playing with save states or anything like that. I just plugged my cart into my Genesis and went to town on it. So, I got most of the way through it before I decided I was done. I got that out of my system because I also really wanted to try to put a little bit of time into the Sparkster games, which is also something I've never really done. I've played a couple of levels of each of them in the past, but never really sat down and said, all right, I'm giving this a real try.
Right. I am going to find out what this is about.
I kind of understood the basics of what those games were. Like, I know how they work more or less. But really playing them, I don't understand the general consensus on those games. So for anyone who doesn't know, Rocket Knight Adventures is an amazing Sega Genesis game that Konami has never ported to anything ever for some goddamn reason. And then they made
Konami.
Because they're Konami. They greenlit 2 sequels to it. One for Super Nintendo, one for Sega Genesis. They're both called Sparkster.
Because they're Konami.
Both called Sparkster. Both have the same cover art. Both even have some of the same music. But they're entirely different games. The Genesis one is technically considered the official sequel because there's a screen that says Sparkster Rocket Knight Adventures 2, and it does follow the storyline of the first game, whereas the Super Nintendo game doesn't really, even though it seems like it's a translation thing because the characters look the same, but whatever. Most people consider the Genesis one to be the superior of the 2 games, and I don't fucking get it. Like, the first Rocket Knight Adventures is hands down the best of those games. It's not even close. Sure. But as far as the follow-ups go, Sparkster on Genesis is still a really cool game, and it's got a lot of cool ideas, but I don't think any of them make it fun, especially the combat. Because the thing in Rocket Knight Adventures was like, there was the crux of the gameplay is space management. Your sword is super strong, but you have to get up close to use it directly. You also have your distance shots, your little laser sword thing that's always available to you. So it's a distance game. It's all about like, well, do I go in, take the risk to deal more damage? Do I hang back and take the risk of receiving more damage because the fight's lasting longer? Like, that's the game. And the whole using your jetpack thing to, again, more risk reward. Like, you'll fly around with the jetpack, but it's not easily controlled, so there's a lot to it. It's a great game. Rocket Knight Adventures, Sparkster for Genesis takes away the laser sword entirely. Yeah. And now it's just a single sword swipe that doesn't even swipe the same way. It's not a vertical slice down. It's like he stabs forward, and it's slow as fuck. In Rocket Knight Adventures, you press the button, you get a slash, like A Link to the Past. Like, it's just slash. Yep. In Sparkster for Genesis, there's a wind-up to it. It feels like a totally different game. Also, your jetpack is constantly auto-charging. Now, one of the cool things about it is that it charges 2 different levels. So, if you wait for it to charge twice, you do this cool corkscrew thing that alludes to there being some neat puzzles with it in the beginning of the game where you fly into these screws and unscrew them.
Yeah.
But they don't follow up on it throughout the rest of the game. And even in the first level when you're doing this stuff, it gets fucking old. There's this one boss type, like mini boss type thing where this thing spins around and you gotta like corkscrew into a handful of screws all over it. But like by the time you get to the last one, it's like, oh, all right, it's gonna go over there now. No, it's not. All right, let's wait for it to spin around again. It's on the other side again. Damn it! All right, let me go over there, and
I missed
I'll
it.
wait here. Oh, now I missed it again. Like it's like pulling teeth. It's like this isn't hard. I'm just waiting for this to be over. So it's neat that it's constantly charging on its own, but it does feel like such a different game, that coupled with the lack of a laser sword and your sword attack being so slow.
Yeah.
The other problem I have with the Genesis game is the this weird roulette system that's not roulette, like a slot machine thing that's happening the whole time. You collect all the gems, and every, I think, 10 gems you get, there's this roulette I keep saying roulette, this slot machine thing up in the upper right hand corner that'll randomly drop something on you. So like, it'll be an extra life, or it'll be some fruit, or it'll be a bomb. And it's like, it's constantly going through the game. Like there's gems everywhere. So there's just constantly something else dropping on your head that you got to be paying attention to while you're playing the rest of the game. And while it's a neat way, it's a really neat concept, I don't think it makes the game very fun. In fact, I find it incredibly annoying. Like, I would much rather just have a basic collect 100 gems, get an extra life thing. I would so much rather have that, because that's a background thing I don't have to pay attention to. I don't want to be paying attention to, oh no, I collected enough
thing.
I collected enough gems, and now there might be a bomb dropping on my head. So I've got to pay attention to what's happening with the slot machine, in addition to the crazy fucking game that I'm playing that's already hard enough on its own.
And there's enough gems in that game, if I remember right.
Oh, they're everywhere.
Yeah, that
they're like coins in a Mario game. It's not like
you're gonna get it.
Yeah, that's going to keep happening. They're how you know which path you're supposed to be going on through some of the larger levels. The other kind of thing that's I'm of two minds of, it does kind of that Ghosts and Goblins thing, like you beat the game and then it's like, all right, but now do it right.
But now beat it again, but harder.
There are these 7 swords hidden throughout the game, and if you collecting all those swords is the only way to get the true ending. And that's kind of neat. I'm not a huge fan of it. Like, I don't even like it all that much in Gimmick, which I adore Gimmick, but I don't even like it all that much in that game. So it kind of a turnoff. The Super Nintendo game, which everyone on the internet seems to agree is the inferior of the two, I don't understand it. Again, those console wars guys, they seem like nice guys, but like, I watched their video last night of comparing the Sparkster games, and they're like, oh, the Genesis wins hands down for like best gameplay, best sound. I'm like, what the fuck are you on about? And the example they used for the sound was they played, because a lot of the songs are the same in both games, and the example they used for the sound proving the Genesis one was better was that they said that the melody got lost in the Super Nintendo sounds. Like, sometimes the melody just gets lost in these sounds. It's so much more pronounced in the Sega Genesis one. I'm like, yeah, for that song, but then there's the other song that's the same, and the Genesis melody is incredibly weak. You can't even hear it.
But
so, like,
Kris,
what do you want
if
about?
we played through the whole game, we wouldn't be able to put videos out quickly.
No, these guys don't do that. They played through both of these games. Their videos, they come out with a video like once every couple of months. They definitely played through these games, like, because they talked about getting the swords, and like one of the other complaints they had on the Super Nintendo one was that in order to see all of the game, you had to play on hard mode. So, like, there's an extra level at the end of the game that you only get when you play through on hard mode, and they thought that that was a more egregious offense than having to collect these 7 swords
replaying the entire game
to get the true ending. So, like, you could on any difficulty level see the whole game, you just couldn't see the proper ending. Whereas the Super Nintendo one, a harder level was gated behind a harder difficulty. I disagree. I think that's the lesser offense than having to go through and find all these hidden things in order to see the true ending. I would prefer the reward for playing through.
Relatively common back then. That doesn't feel alien to me.
It doesn't. Double Dragon 2 did stuff like that. Like, you play through the hard mode and you get rewarded for playing through the hard mode with more game. I thought that was fine. But more importantly, I think the sound is a wash between the two of those games. Like, the sound effects I like better on the Super Nintendo game. The music I like overall probably about the same, because like some of the songs are better on Genesis, some of the songs are better on Super Nintendo. I think it's kind of a wash overall, because the sound effects aren't bad on the Genesis one. They just bother me because they're not the first one. And like the first one had these really great sound effects, really effective sound effects, and they don't use any of them in the second one. Like,
it's definitely one of the better sounding Genesis games, though.
I mean, I would say the first one for sure, and then the second one, yeah.
Well, but the second one too, like, yeah, it's not the first one, but it's still it doesn't fall
to the fart category.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I like the Super Nintendo Sparkster way better than the Genesis one. I guess not way better, but decently better. It's still nowhere near as good as the first game, I don't think, but it plays more like the first game. You have to charge your rocket pack, and that works exactly the same, and you have the laser sword, but it also does all these really wacky new things with the level design, but it feels more like a sequel to Rocket Knight Adventures than where Sparkster for Genesis feels more like an attempt to evolve it in a way that doesn't make it better. Like, seemed like evolution for evolution's sake, whereas Sparkster on Super Nintendo feels like a follow-up to Rocket Knight Adventures on Genesis that just isn't quite as successful. So, I don't know. That's where I landed with those two. I obviously didn't finish either of them because they're hard as shit. Holy shit, those games are hard. And even playing on normal mode, like, I'm not even sniffing the actual hard difficulties in those games. Like, no thank you. I have no interest in that. But yeah, that's my feelings on the Rocket Knight series. It's a weird set of games. I think the first game on Genesis is an absolute masterpiece, and both of the sequels, like Sparkster for Super Nintendo and Genesis, are really interesting games. I just think the Super Nintendo one's more successful, and then Rocket Knight on a PS3 and 360 is fine.
It's okay.
Let's see. All right, so that was that. That was my Rocket Knight experience. I am finally getting replacement Mega Man records from Laced Records. I felt like an ass because they posted about some other record on Twitter, and I was just like, all right, I emailed you a month ago, and then I emailed you again a week ago. All right, so it was like a little more than a month ago, and then again a week ago. I'm emailing the customer service with the information they specifically requested to initiate a return or find out if a return was even viable, and they never got back to me. And so I did the thing. I commented on the Twitter. I was like, this is... your customer service has been ghosting me for more than a month. Can somebody get back to me? And I hate doing that shit. I don't want to be that guy who like calls them out on Twitter instead of going through the official channels, but I tried the official channels, and they started
you were
the
left
process
without options.
Yeah, they started the process and then never got back to me. So then somebody from their social media department was like, "Oh, could you respond again and CC me on those emails, and somebody will get back to you." And then like, so I responded to him, was like, "Here, I sent all the videos again of like, this is what the Mega Man 2 disc sounds like. It sounds crunchy. It sounds like the audio is peaking almost the entire time, and it gets worse the closer to the center that you get." And I sent them a recording of me playing that same song on my iPod and then playing that same song in the game on original hardware. And like, I don't know how well it came through, but some of the people in our Discord were able to hear it too. Like, it sounds crunchy as fuck in person.
Yeah. And
I mentioned that the other two ones that I ordered too have a similar situation, but it's slight. Like, these two are overall fine. Like, there's, again, towards the center of the record, they get a little bit crunchy, but I don't care that much. The Mega Man 2, I can't listen to it. It sucks. But apparently they're sending me all three of them. So okay, I'll see what shows up in the mail. But according to the packing slip that's on the tracking, they're replacing the whole thing. So that's
all right.
That's kind of cool.
If I get a record player, feel free to send me the crunchy ones.
I'll send you the crunchy ones.
I'll take a look. Well, it's unacceptable, right?
Yeah, I mean, like we were talking.
We're not talking about a $10 thing that you picked up at a show. These are expensive products.
Yeah, and like it makes me wonder if this was not it makes me wonder how much thought was actually put into the process, which is why I loved talking to Ship to Shore, because like they make this shit to be listened to. Like he made a real point of saying that, and I liked that he was interested
they're not collector's items.
And I liked that he was interested in what was wrong with the records that I had, and I had actually considered trying to send out my Mega Man before they actually got back to me, since I was still waiting for them to get back to me. I was like, if I send you this, could you tell me what words I should use so that I can explain what's going on here?
Well, the Spielkis in the Galacticazoink, as you see.
Exactly.
Can I bro-splain this to them?
I would like to. I might even still try to reach out to him to see if he'd be interested in listening to it, just because I'm curious what he would say. The problem was, like, it seems like a manufacturing problem is what it seems like. It seems like the audio's there, but the record wasn't pressed right or something, and it's just the needle is not picking up the right vibrations or something. I don't know enough about it, but I'm glad they're sending me more stuff. I hope it doesn't sound like trash when it gets here.
Send it to me. I'll give it a listen for you.
I'm a little reluctant to buy from Laced Records going forward. Not that, there's a lot of options as far as buying video game soundtracks. Like, if somebody's going to make it, that's your option. But
I mean, it that one bad experience is enough to be like, all right, well, no more with you guys.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna think twice before I go spending money on that company's products.
Because again, we're not talking about an insignificant amount of money. We're not.
No, I'm not dropping like
talking about
$10
millions
on a little
of
novelty
dollars
here, but it's it's not nothing.
It's definitely not nothing.
So I also have spent a little bit of time. I kicked up the original Earthworm Jim on Genesis and hit Nintendo Switch Online.
Yeah,
and I figured I'd want to try to give that a run through the same way I did Earthworm Jim 2 earlier in the year, because I haven't beaten the first Earthworm Jim probably since around when it came out, and I've never actually finished the Genesis version because I had the Super Nintendo one. I know I was missing that level, Intestinal Distress. I played it at a friend's house, and I was like, okay, I don't really see what the big deal is, but whatever. That's another one that I think has this weird reputation with Genesis fans as just being like, nah, the Genesis version blows the Super Nintendo one out of the water. Like, I'll concede that the Genesis version is better overall, but the sound on the Super Nintendo one is pretty damn good. I do think there are a couple of songs in the Super Nintendo that sound better than the Genesis versions. I think of the Psychro theme, for example. One of the orchestra hits in the beginning of the song on the Genesis one is totally off key, whereas it matches the key on the Super Nintendo game, but that's a little deep. But like people say that the graphics are better in the Genesis game, and I'm like, yeah, but the Genesis doesn't have true transparency, whereas the Super Nintendo does. It's like all these awesome transparency effects on the Super Nintendo look great, and on the Genesis, it's like they do the lines trick, so it just looks like a bunch of lines to simulate transparency, and that shit always bothers me. And like, Intestinal Distress, has an extra level, but it's like, is it a great level? I don't think so. It's more content, but does it really add anything to the overall experience? I don't think it does. I think what really puts the Genesis version over the top is that it has more correctly used voice samples. They're crunchier on the Genesis, but like, he says the right stuff. In the Super Nintendo game, you pause the game and put in a cheat code and it just makes a sound effect or something. And in the Genesis version, you put in the things and he goes, cheater. And like little things like that really kind of tie it together. But that game, like Earthworm Jim 2, is not great.
I know people love the Earthworm Jim games. I think they are okay at best.
Yeah, like, they're full of great ideas and great animation and wonderful character and amazing music. I mean, thanks, Tommy. I say what you want about the guy. That soundtrack is fucking great. The Earthworm Jim soundtrack is fantastic, but the actual gameplay is really not great.
I've never really loved it.
It's not well executed. But it is. It is ultimately fun. It's a neat game, and I'm glad I'm playing through it again. I'd like to cross that one off my list.
Sure.
Just as something to play through again. Like, I remember the last boss battle being really cool looking, like the slug for a butt queen, when she does this one like flame move where she's moving, I think, like a wand across the screen. It has this really cool flame effect that follows it. Like, it's just a really well animated and impressive final boss, which doesn't exist in Earthworm Jim 2. That game just kind of stops, but whatever. But the big surprise, this, I remember who on the Discord pointed it out to me last night, was that, let me find it, because it can't be that too far back. Dadish. There it is. Rob Metzger. Dadish and Dadish 2 went on sale for $2 a piece. And I was like, Dadish 2 on sale? Immediately went upstairs, grabbed the Switch, jumped on the eShop, and purchased Dadish 2 for the $2. Because I fucking loved that first game. Dadish was great. And Dadish 2
$2, like...
Come on, $2?
$2.
Yeah, Dadish 2 is absolutely living up to the... it's the writing is spot on. It's the same kind of, like, basic but pretty challenging, never all that cheap platforming. It's not a complicated game, but I'm there for the jokes. I'm there for the writing, and the writing is spot the fuck on. I got to one level where I got to the kid, and he started going this whole thing about how, like, life seems really hard right now. It's difficult. There's all this pressure, and, like, Dadish goes through a whole thing about how insightful that was, and then the kid just farts.
Yeah.
And Dadish's response was, "Oh my god." It was just fucking perfect. Me and John were cracking the fuck up when that happened today. It was just too good. I love it. I honestly, I think after I finish Dadish 2, I think I'm just gonna buy 3 for full price. It's $10. I think this guy has definitely...
You feel like they've earned it?
They've earned my proper $10. Like, Dadish 3 just came out this year. I want to put that in the conversation for new games of 2022. Because really, if it's on par with the first 2 games, and I can't believe it wouldn't be, it's just a really special, ridiculous but special experience. I will say that the game has crashed on me twice.
Really?
Which I find incredibly bizarre. The only game that really crashes on Switch is fucking Minecraft, and that game is being held together by duct tape. I swear to God, every time John tries to play it, there's like some sort of, can't connect to the store, the whole thing falls apart and freezes. But yeah, Dadish 2 is frozen on me twice. Just flat out frozen. Complete soft lock. Ridiculous.
How weird.
Yeah. I know we've been going for a while, but I do think we have to mention that the whole Stadia situation.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be people who care about that. I mean, and I don't say that in a dickhead way. I just say that in the people who care about that were definitely not you or me, because we didn't own one.
And didn't want to.
Yeah.
Didn't seem like my kind of thing, but, it was a service that certainly existed, and on one hand, the fact that Google is refunding everyone for everything,
that's pretty awesome.
But on the other hand, the people that were developing for Stadia found out about it when we did.
That really sucks.
They shut really that shit down. Like, there's people, I've been seeing all kinds of accounts on Twitter of people like, we're like a week away from releasing our next game, and now it's gone. Like, we can't. And that's fucking stupid. I think it's kind of funny and sad that Atari had recently hitched their wagon to Stadia pretty hard. Like, just a month ago, I think, they were like, all of our shit's coming to Stadia. We're back in Stadia, man. It's going to be great. No, it's not.
No.
I'm sorry, Atari. Boy, I really want to root for that company. So many back and forth on them. Like, they're like doing really cool stuff, and then they're just like, and here's the latest and greatest NFTs from Atari, bro.
Yeah.
Stop it. They're a fucking scam. Just stop it. Leave it alone. Get out. Keep doing this shit. Like, I can't wait for Atari Mania. That game looks super cool. All the recharge stuff is great. Atari 50 is going to be amazing. I'm pre-ordering the fuck out of that game, because when you pre-order it, you get a download code for Gravatar Recharge for your system of choice, and fuck, that game's great. I will absolutely take a free copy of that on another platform. I'm damn proud I bought that on my VCS. I will happily have that on my Switch as well. But yeah, Stadia just... A lot of people called it because Google tends to, like, not long-term a lot of their things. Yeah, that is accurate. But it's like, man, it still sucks. It really kind of just really hits home with how impressive it is that the Xbox is a thing that still exists and has been wildly successful. Like, it's really hard to launch a video game system. It's really hard. Ask Tommy Tallarico. Like, it's really difficult. I can't do it. No. Getting a new... It is kind of funny that you mention that, because since the Stadia news, I've been seeing an influx of Amazon Luna ads. Okay. So... I don't know what that is. That's their version of Stadia. Oh, is it? Yeah, exactly. Okay. Who the fuck even knows what that is? But okay, cool. Go nuts. Yeah, it's certainly a thing that happened, and it's like, it would be neat to have like one of those controllers, I guess, just for history's sake. Like, but it's just not a thing, and it seems like it hasn't been a thing since they shut down all their studios. So, like, the writing's been on the wall for a while now, but like, they hit this thing so hard when it came out, and I don't know what the... I mean, that's what Google does, though. Like, that's just not... It just wasn't surprising in the history of the Google. Like, they will put a product out, and they will push the fuck out of it and be like, you're a fucking piece of shit if you don't fucking buy this thing. How very goddamn dare you? Like, nobody's gonna love you. Nobody's gonna want to have sex with you. Like, it's just, you're the worst person in the world if you don't buy this fucking product. And then a week later, they'll be like, nah, never mind. What was it? Google One? Google like, Plus, we're killing Facebook. Google Plus, that's what it was. We're killing Facebook, bitches. It's happening. And then it was like, nope, not happening. Nah, never mind. Sorry. It's not happening. I'm still fucking looking for a replacement for Google Reader. I haven't found one yet. That was a decade ago that they got rid of Google Reader. That was my RSS reader of choice. I fucking loved that thing. You know, and I have other RSS readers that kind of work for how I choose to consume, you know, the internet and whatnot. But, man, that thing was great. And they were just like, we're done. We're good. We're going to move on. Like, all right, guys, I guess. I was in the middle of something, but all right. It just sucks. Like, rest in peace, Stadia, I guess. It does legitimately kind of bum me out. You know what I mean? It's a gaming... Like, go ahead. It felt like there was a chance, because Google does have all of the money. They've got the war chest for it. Fuck, they're refunding everybody, and they're not even going to blink an eye at that. They've got so much money that you could have afforded to really make it interesting. But it's still game streaming, you know? There's still no ownership at all in there. And like, you know, any games that were Stadia exclusives, those are fucking gone. They're just gone now. That's it. And that's kind of tragic. it's the weird state of the gaming industry right now. It's very disposable. Like, a lot of shit's just, even in this day and age, it's just kind of getting lost. So, hooray for piracy. I hope all this stuff is backed up somewhere, and there's no new lost media from the Stadia disappearance. But
I am sure it is.
But with that, I think it's time for us to take a quick break. And when we come back, buckle up, bitches. We're going to be doing our Neo-Geo Pocket list, and it's going to be a beefy one. You're listening to the Stone Age Gamer Podcast from Geekade.com. Stick around. And now, here's a quick look at some of the other original content available now from our partners and Geekade.com. Hi everyone, Kris here. Podcast listening is free, but podcast creation is not. That's why the Geekade Patreon exists. In an effort to help us pay the bills, we've got a Patreon page set up where you can gain access to our monthly podcast topic schedule, get early access to many of our shows, and more. If you'd like to help support Geekade and keep these shows running week after week, head over to the Geekade Patreon page, linked in the show notes of this very podcast.
First up, on an all-new episode of this week's episode, Angie takes the hosting chair to present her pick. The pilot episode of The 100, a show with a great premise, connections to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Lost, and some very specific musical choices. Plus, Evan decidedly does not talk about the new Quantum Leap, even though he told everyone else he would. Kris continues to love Cobra Kai because he is a man of taste and culture, and Karen gives her impressions on House of the Dragon thus far. Don't miss this week's episode 257, So CW, It's Almost WB. Which is an outstanding... That might be the best episode title you've had. That's really good. Evan
said that, and I wrote it down immediately and started making episode art. It was like,
like not done. Even upward.
Cut it, print it. And it was like, nothing else is going to be said in this episode that's going to top that. That's it.
That's
right
really
there.
Good. That's really good.
Absolutely nailed it. Next, it's acapella time, bitches. Or should I say, acabitches.
That's
Sean
right.
Paul and myself reached the letter P this month, and we landed on the comedy classic Pitch Perfect as our choice. It also happens to be that movie's anniversary, and there just so happened to be a showing of it at our local theater, which meant that we all saw this one together. I've seen and loved this movie before, but how did the others feel about a movie involving Anna Kendrick foregoing her DJ aspirations to get involved in the cult-like, cutthroat, and surprisingly barf-filled world of competitive a cappella? Find out in a theater near you, episode 19, Pitch Perfect.
Two things. Pitch Perfect fucking rules.
It really does.
Great movie. And you gotta stop saying Sean Paul. You have to say, you are not doing a podcast with Sean Paul. You're doing a podcast with Paul.
Sean, Paul, and myself.
No. Sean Paul and myself is how you said it. And you are not doing a podcast with
who the fuck is Sean
wonder.
Paul?
He's a sort of rapper. It fucking makes me giggle every time because I just imagine you and Sean Paul hanging out, watching movies together. And it makes no fucking sense whatsoever. So in the future, if you could write Paul, Sean, and myself,
well,
that
I'm
because
very
I don't
specifically
know
not going to do that.
Every time.
If I'm going to make you giggle, you want me to stop making you giggle? Fuck that noise.
It's just so silly. You got to look up. You got when we're done or right now. Like you do what you got to do. I'm here to make you happy. You got to look up some fucking Sean Paul videos and like you and him would not hang out. It's just not like your paths would never cross. I'm not saying you couldn't be friends like if you met each other, but the world in which you and Sean Paul are hanging out together, it just doesn't exist. And I don't see how to get there. And it's weird every time. Oh boy. Finally, sorry I had to swallow there. the Sparkcast crew takes another non-Transformer detour to review Brainiac from Superman the Animated Series. Is Brainiac similar to a Transformer when compared to his first two appearances? I say he would be a better character all around if he could transform into a car, but that's just me. I think everything would be great if it could transform into a fucking car. That'd be amazing. You see this toaster? Boom. Car. Fan? Car. Toys? Car. Dog? Guess what? Fucking car. Plus, they discuss their entry into Superman, the comics as well as the animated series, some DC movie talk, and then somehow Star Trek Voyager shoves its way into the conversation with disastrous results. Be sure to check out Sparkcast episode 66, Superman the Animated Series, Last Son and Stolen Memories.
For all this and more from us and our partners, be sure to keep your eyes on Geekade.com. All right, we are back. Dan is singing Sean Paul songs, and I have two things to cover. Thing number one, Mike Sheridan wants to tell Dan that he loved your Nickelback joke.
Oh, thank you, Mike Sheridan.
And he says Castlevania.
Castlevania.
And also, I forgot to mention in the top half of the episode, I got to organize a shed today.
That's not nothing. That's a very exciting time in a man's life. When you're trusted
organizing.
Sure, but shed organizing is a specific manly pleasure. It's like a good pair of corduroy pants. Like, that's a man thing.
So,
I love a good pair of corduroys.
My wife is in charge of the local mom's club, and they have a shed where they keep all of their stuff. And Karen knows that I love organizing things, and I'm pretty good at it.
Karen knows that you're you.
That I'm me. And so she asked me, which I was very, very flattered by, she asked if I could come organize their shed for them. Because, this is where they keep all the stuff for all the events that they do and everything for the club. And it's a mess. And she needed help. And so we made time for it today, and I went out there and took everything out and started from scratch, and it was incredibly rewarding. But holy shit, two things were very true. That shed was full of sprickets. What
the fuck is a spricket?
Camel crickets.
Is that a weird sex thing I don't know about?
No. Spider crickets or camel crickets.
Oh, okay. Camel crickets.
Yeah, those dumb motherfuckers.
Those are called sprickets?
I've heard them referred to as sprickets around here.
New Jersey's because a fascinating place.
They're crickets that look like they're a cross between a spider and a cricket, so they're called sprickets.
Yeah. No,
regardless,
thought it was a weird sex thing.
There was a club. A lot of them in there, a fucking lot. And then we found a mouse in there, and it was the cutest little thing.
Aw,
little mice. Field mouse. It was fucking adorable and named very scary.
But, that's what I would imagine. Who the fuck's this man? Used to hanging out with bitches.
They did not know.
Shitty mouse.
She did not know the mouse was in there. She didn't know there were any pests in there, but that was definitely the case. So I got to reorganize the whole thing. I figured out what was being used, what's not being used. I did very smart, intelligent organizing that is theoretically user-proof. So, the place where the thing goes... I
don't know, Kris. They are women. I mean, if it's not a kitchen appliance, how will they know what to do with it?
Jesus.
Were there a bunch of cutting boards in there? Because I'm sure those will be in the right place.
Oh, good Lord. So anyway, I got to organize a shed, and I was very proud of that.
Oh, that's exciting.
I thought it was fun. I also bought a new desk chair. I haven't built it yet.
No? You had to build it? You didn't just take it out and
Well, I didn't have time to the first day, and then I was going to do it today, but then I wound up organizing the shed, and then my daughter's birthday party's tomorrow, and there's going to be a bunch of people here, and like, well, I don't want them all playing with my new chair, so I'll just wait until the party's over, and then I'll build my new chair.
I'm really kind of sad that we've never, like, did a joint birthday party for me and Ellie. I think like, that would be a really interesting mix of people. I don't know. When would that be appropriate?
Unicorns and beer, I guess?
Yeah, no, beericorns? I think it's a wonderful...
Dan,
I don't know.
Doing arts and crafts and unicorns, and Ellie just getting drunk.
Just getting hammered, just shitty drunk. I don't know. I feel like it gets less appropriate as she gets older, like, because I don't want to hang out with, like, 10-year-olds. But I think, like, it would have been funny. Like, I don't know. It's a silly idea. But I like silly. Alright, let's fuck. Speaking of silly, Neo-Geo Pocket Color Starter Kit. What the fuck are we thinking, Kris?
I don't know, but I'm glad we did.
I got 4 games. That's what I'm thinking.
Oh, did I even get 4? Let me see. I forgot to open this up here. No,
I did my list a month ago. So.
I got 3.
Oh, shit.
So, if you
that means I start again. Yeah.
If you had a Neo-Geo Pocket Color and $100 to start a physical collection, what games would you get? I don't believe it was region locked, but I don't think that made much of a difference.
I don't believe it did.
So, yeah, you got 4. What's your first one?
I mean, the first one, I think, is one of the more obvious choices on this system. I know it's not a franchise that you're a huge fan of, but you got to get Metal Slug First Mission.
Yeah, that's on my list. It's not the earliest alphabetical, though, but yeah, that's one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I had it, so when I looked, my last edit for this list, and I'm going to be, like, completely transparent and whatnot, I did this list on September 10th, and I didn't care to check it again because it's the Neo-Geo Pocket Color, and I really wasn't all that fussed about whether there was a $2 or $3 change in any of these things. But I had it at $26, which is expensive for Metal Slug First Mission.
It's actually at $25 now, so.
Oh, see, it's even cheaper now. Even better. It's a really good Metal Slug game.
It is.
Like, it's a side-scrolling shooter. It plays really well. It's got multiple paths throughout the levels. It animates really well.
Yeah.
Like, one of the things that the Neo Geo did really well was the animations were like, it just felt so much above the other home consoles at the time. You know, like, it was really that arcade perfect thing at home and nobody had one, but like, whatever. But that carried over to the Pocket Color. There's a lot of really well animated games on here. Like, SNK as a developer, I don't think gets the love that they really should. And I like the Metal Slug series quite a bit. And this is a really, really well-made game.
Yeah, it's pretty darn fun. It's one of the few... that's weird. I think I own as many consoles as I do games of Neo-Geo Pocket Color. I think I have 4... No, I think I have 5 games and I have 4 units, so go figure.
That's so weird. That's so weird.
I'm a weird dude. But they were on clearance at Toys R Us, so I just grabbed a bunch of them. Hey. They were all different colors and super cool systems. But this is one of the games I own. It's one of the... I haven't played a ton of it, you know, but it's interesting because it animates really well, but the visuals on Neo Geo Pocket stuff are so strange because, like, the sprites themselves don't have a lot of colors.
Right.
So, like, the screen can hold a bunch of colors at the same time, but, like, you'll get character sprites that have, like, 2 or 3 colors tops, but they animate really well. It has such a unique look. But this is a really fun game, and well worth the price, I would say. Yeah.
All right, what was the first one on your list?
Card Fighter Clash SNK version for $30.
Okay. I had that. That is also on my list, but I had that as SNK versus Capcom Card Fighter Clash.
Oh, gotcha.
SNK.
Fair enough.
For $33. So
got it. Well, it's down to 30 now.
All right.
And this is another one I don't have much experience with. I'm not a big card game guy, but one of the things I know about the Neo-Geo Pocket Color is that these card fighter games and Match of the Millennium, which unfortunately didn't make my list because it's $50 goddamn dollars.
Yeah, it's just too much money.
The Card Fighter Clash is kind of like one of the things the system is known for. It is pretty universally praised as being an excellent game, and while it's not my bag, I think it's a pretty important representation of what this system is, you know?
Yeah, no, this is like, I would argue that this is the game for the Neo-Geo Pocket Color, because so many other games that are available on it, you can either get better versions of that game, or there are just better games that represent that particular genre, right? Like, there's some good stuff on here, but the Card Fighters games are entirely unique to this system. Not that collectible card games are unique, or Pokemon or Magic style games are unique, but with the Capcom versus SNK characters, like, this shit just hasn't really been anywhere else. And it's really fun. It's really intuitive. It's easy to pick up. There's a deep list of characters on there. Like, you get the big ones that you expect, but then it's also like, oh, there's some other, like, cool character. Like, Cham Cham is in there. Fucking love Cham Cham.
Who's Cham Cham?
That's great. Cham Cham's the little fucking jungle girl from Samurai Showdown.
Is she related to Tam Tam?
Probably. I never got that deep in the lore, but...
Because I know Tam Tam from Samurai Showdown 1.
Yeah.
He was like the dude who was like 10 feet tall that was crouched down with a big old... Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, she's got a boomerang. She's dope. I like her a lot.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a really cool game. It's a really, really cool game. It's got interesting... Like, I really like the card art, because it was a very chibi style without being so chibi that it's, like, offensively chibi.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? Like, there's sometimes where you see it and you're like, well, I'm not a 5-year-old, so, like, this offends me now. This is just the right amount of cute. It works really well for the system. It's... If you had, like, this would be the game, I think, if you could get one game for the system. Mm-hmm. And, like, maybe that's an interesting thing that we do as, like, an addition later on after we're done with all this. Like, money is no object. What's the one game?
What's the one game? That would be hard for a handful of systems for sure.
It really would. But, like, for Neo-Geo Pocket Color, pretty easy. You get Card Fighters Clash.
Yeah, I would agree. All right, what's your third game? Oh, you said you had 4. What's next for you?
Yeah, I had Puzzle Link. Have you played Puzzle Link?
I haven't played Puzzle Link. That's why I didn't put it on my list.
It is an interesting puzzle game. It's not the best puzzle game in the world, but it's different than... It wasn't just like a Tetris clone, like I feel so many of those games were trying to be. It's like, I mean, like, no, the board, like, moves this way. It's like, yeah, but it's still just fucking Tetris, man. You know what I mean? Like, you just made Tetris, but you laid it down. Ooh. Puzzle Link is kind of this weird game where you've got these, like, blocks up at the top, and there's, like, striped blocks, and it's hard to tell exactly what you're looking at because, like you said, the system was capable of a lot of colors, but they didn't always use that well. So you've got, like, regular yellow blocks and, like, striped yellow blocks, and when you're this little character at the bottom, and you shoot at this wall of blocks as it's coming down, and when you shoot them, the pipes come out, like, pipes come out of them, and you have to find a way to configure the pipes to connect, and that, like, blows up the things around them. It's one of those puzzle games where it's much more rewarding if you were like, fuck, I got this game and I don't have anything else to play, so I have to take the time to figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, I that's not the most ringing endorsement in the world, but it's one of those games where once it clicks with you, you're like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool, right? Not the best puzzle game in the world, but definitely interesting. And I had that. What was the price I had it at? I had it at $21.
Yeah,
so
I knew it was somewhere on the lower end.
Yeah, it's in the lower end. I had the three games that I was for sure on, and then I had about $20 left. So I was like, well, Puzzle Link's pretty cool. I went and I played it. I was like, yeah, I get what we're trying to do here. It's a neat little game.
Well, I only have $12 left over, so that wasn't really enough to get anything. So,
how did you only have $12 left over? What was the other game you picked?
The last game I picked was Sonic Pocket Adventure for $33.
Yeah, all right, that's fair.
It's a good and unique Sonic game.
Yeah,
this is not a game that's on any other system. This is the Neo-Geo Sonic game, and it's pretty good. It's not a masterpiece, but it's pretty good, and I liked it, and it fit the budget. Like, I looked up, I only have 4 Neo-Geo Pocket games. I have Bust-A-Move Pocket, which was on my list, but it was loose for $36. And like, yeah, it was choice between that and any of those other 3 games. Like, nah, sorry, Bust-A-Move Pocket's great, but it's Bust-A-Move.
Yeah, I can't ever recommend Bust-A-Move like at $30+.
Yeah,
there's just not enough fun there,
and there are too many other ways to play it. It's just not there. You know, Match of the Millennium, I think, I would argue Match of the Millennium is the game besides Card Fighter Clash, except there's so many good Capcom versus SNK fighters on consoles. Card Fighter Clash is so unique to the Neo Geo, but that was another one that was really high on my list.
Can you hear Benji snoring in the background?
I do not.
Oh, that's good. He's snoring. It's like he's fucking dragging furniture across a hardwood floor. It's fucking awesome.
The other one I wanted to put on the list was Pac-Man, because it's a pretty good version of Pac-Man, but it's $18. It
is pretty good. Yeah, it's not an $18 version of Pac-Man.
Yeah. Sorry.
I don't know that there is an $18 version of Pac-Man where I would be like, yep, nope, that's the one you got to have.
I would pay $18 for Pac-Man Champion Edition, the first one.
Right, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Pac-Man.
Just regular Pac-Man? Nah.
Yeah, I don't think.
I don't know. If somebody offered me an arcade cabinet for $18, I'd take it.
I don't even know if I would, because it's not Miss Pac-Man. I'd be mad that it wasn't Miss Pac-Man.
I would totally mod a Pac-Man arcade cabinet to include Miss Pac-Man.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. I absolutely would take one for $18. Yeah. Please, somebody sell me a Pac-Man arcade cabinet for $18.
But yeah, that's my list. Card Fighter Clash, Metal Slug First, and Sonic Pocket Adventure. That's all I've got. What about you? What was your fourth?
The last game I have on my list is Samurai Showdown 2 at $20.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's a cool little version of Samurai Showdown. Like, I like that what I really liked about it, and they did it with the other SNK fighting games. I think there was Fatal Fury, and I think King of Fighters was on there as well, where they didn't try to do the arcade graphics just smaller. Mm-hmm. They made like new character sprites to work on the Neo-Geo Pocket Color, and like I quite like it. It's not the best fighting game in the world, but it's pretty good. Like it controls really well. Like, there's not a ton of slowdown. It works really well. You know, there's some bullshit in there. Like, there's some collectible card stuff in there. But, like, overall, it's a good little fighting game. Backgrounds are really nice. The character sprites are interesting. It's $20.
Yeah,
it's worthwhile. It's a worthwhile $20.
I like your list. Let's see if there's an... I don't think we got any lists for this, but oh my goodness, we do have a list.
Oh, really? Somebody else was like, yeah, fuck it.
All right, let's see. We got Duroc Pig, SNK vs. Capcom Match of the Millennium for $50, Metal Slug First Mission for $24.74, and Puzzle Link for $23.91 for a total of $99.15. Well done.
Everybody loves Puzzle Link.
Yeah, that's good. Let's see. Trash Man. Neo-Geo Pocket Color. We got $20 for Sam Show 2. Well done. A decent port, all things considered. Very fast paced with most of the original characters available to play. $28 Ogre Battle Gaiden, the Prince of Zenobia. A bit of a struggle to get through since my Japanese is crap. Yeah, that's why I didn't put this on the list, because it's in Japanese. I just couldn't recommend a fully Japanese game, but I had to use an AIM chat room for help in understanding the menu and story. If you ever played March of the Black Queen, the game will feel very familiar. Basically, a less pretty and less technical version of that game. And then $46 for Dark Arms Beast Buster 1999. This game, Biomotor Unitron and Facelli are probably the best games on the system, but the latter two are stupid expensive, so they're out. Dark Arms is like if you cross Zelda with Pokemon and Akari Warriors. It's a top-down adventure, killing and collecting monsters for the master. Along the way, you grow and feed your weapons so they can upgrade. Rinse and repeat until you can challenge a boss. Relatively short, but a lot of fun. And because we were having the conversation earlier, because this was going to be so short, we were recommending Vectrex starter kits. And Trashman gave $76 for Vector Patrol, the only new Vectrex game I've played, which was far and away the best Vectrex game my friend had, and $23 for Berserk. It's Berserk vectorized. Hard agree, Berserk was fucking great on Vectrex. Love it. Genix. I have zero knowledge of the NGPC library, but I did a Vectrex list because Vectrex is awesome, and Kris said too. Cosmic Chasm for $20, Mindstorm, Bling Bling Money Thing, because Mindstorm's built into the system. Rip Off for $29.59, Scramble for $18.98. Scramble definitely would have made my list. Star Trek 1836. I haven't played that one, but it's on my multi-cart, and I really should play it. Total for $87.03. Cut from the list, Hyper Chase, Spike. I had this on my regular list in June 21st, but it nearly doubled in price since then. Good lord. And Web Wars for $40.32. So thanks everybody for your Vectrex and Neo Geo Pocket Color lists. Yeah.
It's Neo Geo Pocket Color. I mean, this was never going to be the most in-depth starter kit that we were going to do. No. Because next month.
Oh, next month's going to be. Next month is PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
That's going to be beefy.
I've already got on my PS2 list that I started a little while ago. I have got 7 games on there already that I think are phenomenal, fantastic fucking games, and I'm only at $17. Like, it's absurd. The value that you can get on PS2 currently, where like the bang to buck ratio, which has not been present in a ton of these lists, you know, like, because there's so many games that are so expensive and they suck. They're just not good games, but you get them because they have low print runs and you're trying to like show that your dick is bigger than somebody else's dick. So it's like, well, I've got fucking stadium events. Like, okay, sure, but like, it's not a very good game. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of that. But with the PS2, you're going to get a ton of games that are fucking great. And they're cheap.
I haven't even started looking into it yet, but I know you're right. The PS2, certain aspects of the PS2 library have shot up in value. I think horror games like Rule of Rose.
Oh, sure.
Generally speaking, there's a ton of really good stuff on PS2 that you can get for cheap. So,
like,
that's a list I'm going to need to put some thought into.
Yeah, I'm just going to put this out there. Like, I'm going to give away one of the games that I already have on my list, but it's no surprise. We said you have all the peripherals. You can get Guitar Hero 2, the greatest hits version, for $3, Kris.
Wow.
Like,
Shit.
dude.
Absolutely. No question on that.
Come on. $3? That's what that game is going for? Tell me that
1
there
and
is
2
a
are the
better
ones
use
that I
of
saved.
$3.
I have PS2 guitars and Guitar Hero 1 and 2, and that's it. And that's all I saved from that. But that's good enough for me.
$3.
That's a good one.
I mean,
right, that's going to be fun.
Whoa, I'm so excited for this list.
Hold the rest of it off.
That's going to be a long show. We need
to make sure that the top half of that show is going to be short. We need to make sure we do that.
I need lists from all of the listeners, from our Patreon listeners, especially, because we love you more, obviously, than the rest of them. Obvious. No, I think, because that I think is also going to be the really interesting thing when we get everybody else's lists, is your list and my list there will be certainly some similarities, but this is where you and I this generation is where you and I started to branch more into different aspects of gaming. So there's going to be some diversity, but with the sheer amount of games on the PS2 and the variance in pricing, I'm really curious to see like where everybody ends up.
Yeah, we're going to get some pretty diverse lists, I think. And that is exciting shit.
That is exciting shit. And listen, YouTubers, fucking invite us on. We'll talk about it. Don't be dicks. Don't be dicks.
We're nice guys.
I love you. We love you. Kris is nice.
All right, everybody. That's it. That is our show. Join us next week when we'll be officially saying goodbye to summer by completing our summer series. Yeah, in October. Dan and I will be going in depth about our experiences finally completing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the NES and what we think of this lovely game in the year of our Lord 2022. We are.
That's good music. I know that almost got into Castlevania, but.
We're on most social media platforms, and if you want to get in touch with us, we aren't very difficult to find. All it takes is a quick look at our show notes, and you'll see links to our social media accounts, as well as all manner of other fun stuff, like a link to our namesake, StoneAgeGamer.com, and more useful links than you can shake a joystick at. If you'd like to get early access to this show's episodes, as well as a bevy of other shows on the Geekade Podcast Network, check out our Patreon, also linked to in the show notes. It helps keep this show running week after week, and all our patrons are loved and appreciated, especially you. This show's theme song, Square Roots, was written by Banjo Guy Ollie. You can learn all about his wonderful music and more by following the link to his YouTube channel, also in the show notes. And finally, as always, we'd like to thank our intrepid editor, Evan, for making the show listenable for all you folks, and we'd like to thank all you folks for listening in the first place. That is it, everybody. On behalf of Dan and myself, keep playing games.